One of the last things that I have to do to finish this project is the very small pins that fit inside these 4mm holes. But I don't have any small diameter nylon, so I cut some square pieces from this bigger piece here, and now I'm just turning it to whatever diameter it cleans up, like this one here that I already done, and this way I can clamp it in the drill chuck and make the pins. Off camera, I made some of these small pins that fit inside these holes, and because these pins are spring loaded, I also made some compression springs that go in before the pins, and now I can put the pin on top of it, and if I press in, now they spring back, and this way it prevents the knob from moving out of position unless someone turns it one way or the other. I have to make 4 more pins for the other knob, so now will be a good time to show you how I do it. Okay, here it is, and now I can see it goes in. So I'm going to carry on with this, and then I'll show you how I made the compression springs. And now to make these very small compression springs, I'll use a single wire from this piece of stainless steel rope, like this one here that I already removed. But as you can see, it comes out a little bit wavy, which is not a big deal because it's very easy to straighten it just by hand. And then, once I have it like this, it doesn't need to be perfect. I just have to coil it around the 2.5mm drill to make the springs. And now to make the compression springs, I'll use this 2.5mm drill in combination with this power drill. And I got a piece of that stainless steel rope wire clamped in the bench vise. And by the way, this wire is 0.5mm in diameter. Now this end here, I'm going to clamp it inside the drill chuck, but in a way that the wire gets pinched in between one of the jaws and the drill. And this way it won't slip out when I start making the coils around the drill. So I'll take this like that. And now I'll start by making 2 coils close together, and I'm putting pressure on the wire to make it taut. Okay, that's good. Now, if we're looking at this spring here, or any other compression spring, they always have a space in between the coils. And to create that space evenly on this spring, I have this piece of wire And whatever diameter this wire is, that's what the space it's going to be in between the coils. And I put these handles here to give me more leverage, and this way I can put even more pressure on this wire. And now I'm going to make 5 more coils, and keeping always pressure on the wire. That's very important. Okay, there's 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1 more, and 5. So I'll take this out, and now at this end here I'll make 2 more turns with the coils close together. Okay, 1 more. Okay, that's good. I'll cut the wire, take the drill out, and here it is, a small compression spring. Now to finish this, I still have to cut this extra wire at the ends, and for that I'll use this rotary tool. And after that I'm gonna make these flats, because compression springs most of the time they will fit inside the pocket, and it's always a good idea to have a flat surface. Now the flats. Okay, here it is. A small compression spring. I bet you thought that was a lot more difficult or complicated to make such a small spring, but like you've seen, it's very easy, and the best of all is it works pretty much all the time. Okay, and now that I got all the springs made, I'm going to show you how I'm going to put this together. So I put the spring in and the pin on top of it, and as you can probably see, when I press this in, the pin will bounce back. The only thing is that these springs that I made end up a little bit bigger than what I expected on the height. And now this pin is sticking a little bit too much. So I'm going to have to cut it. And I end up with a little setup that I'm going to show you in a moment how to cut these to size. But while I was thinking about making the pins and the springs, I also thought about why not, instead of using a spring, just using a little piece of O-ring. I cut off a piece from this longer piece here, and because this is like rubber, it will work as a spring. So if I press this in, and now I put the pin in, it will bounce back also. And it actually may have some advantage over a spring, because I think these springs over time, they may rust, and the O-ring will not. So there's an option here, the spring or the O-ring. But for now, I will stick to the original plan. And I made the springs and they look quite good. So the springs, that's what I'm going to use. So for now, I'm going to take this one here. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to cut these to size. So I have this piece of wood with a 4mm hole. And I put the pin in. And I hit it so it sits on the bottom, because this hole is not through. And now I'm going to cut it using this end mill. Okay. And I made a little hole on the bottom so I can use this key and push these out like that. And now I put these in, and they're sitting a little bit lower, about 1.5 millimeters from this face up. And I made these off camera so I can show you how this works on the reel. So I thread this in, and you can probably hear these pins engaging on these little dentations that I made on the frame. And this way will prevent the knob from getting loose unless someone cranks it one way or the other. And the more I turn this knob, the more friction this spool will have. So it creates like a drag system compared to a fishing reel. So there's not much to do. It's almost finished and it's coming along. So the next project now, or the next step to do to finish this project, will be to drill a small hole here so I can put a pin, and that will connect this piece here to the spool. So once I crank the handle, the spool will turn also. I'm just about ready to start drilling the hole for this pin here that will go through the spool and also through this piece here. And once everything is put together and the pin is in, the handle will be connected to the spool, and the movement of the handle will make the spool turn. Now, one thing that I have to pay attention is to make sure that I drill the hole in between these two O-ring grooves, and for that I got the setup pretty much ready to go. I know the distance from this face here to the center of the hole is 22 millimeters, and to get to those 22 millimeters, I'm going to use this pin with a sharp point that I'll use to mark the location of the hole. And I painted this pin using this black marker, but it's the kind of markers that they're used to write down on whiteboards. So this paint will come off very easily. And first I'm going to drop this in and move slowly until I touch this face. And I know that once I see the paint come off, I just touch it. And once I do that, I'll move to the right location. So now, slowly, I'm gonna move the pin in, and once I see the paint coming off, like it did right there, now I'll set the dial to 0 here on the machine. And now I have to go around because the machine won't go any higher, so I could go over. And now I have to move 25 millimeters this way to get to the right location. And in this case, I will turn this handle here 6 turns, and that will get me to 24 millimeters. And one more, it will make the 25. So 1, 2, and 6. That will get me 24 millimeters. So I need one more, like that. And now I'll move this way, and I'm gonna use the same method, but because I need the hole to be on the center of this diameter, so I'll touch with the pin on this side, and in this case I will have to move 11 millimeters to get to the center of this diameter. I'm gonna paint a little bit more here, the pin, and this way I know when I touch. You won't see it because it's on this side here, but believe me, that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, just touch it. So I'll do the same. I set the dial to 0. And now I'm going to have to move 11 millimeters this way. So 4, 8, 10, and 11. Now I'm going to double check this measuring with the vernier. because this is something that I just can't make a mistake on it. So I'm gonna set this to 22 millimeters. Okay, that looks pretty good. That's good. So now I'm gonna mark the location. Oh, and one thing, this is all locked by using this knob. So I turn this quite a bit, and now the spool won't turn. Okay, there's the center for the drill not to move out of position when I start drilling. Take this one out. Now I'm going to use first a smaller diameter. The diameter that I'm looking for is 3 millimeters, which is the diameter of this pin, and I want the slight fit. So first I'm going to drill through with this thin drill, and then I'll use this one here. I'm gonna move the camera so this way maybe you see a little bit better. Okay, as you probably seen, the drill chuck will hit this pin, so I think I may have enough depth to start using now this drill here. This drill here is a 3 millimeter. I'm not going to drill through. The idea is to drill just about here, and then the very last will be drilled with a 2.5 millimeters, because that I wanted to thread it, because the pin, as you've seen, is threaded in one side, and this way it will never come out. And some of you may wonder what kind of coolant I'm using. This is just mineral spirits, the same stuff that is used to clean brushes and stuff from painting. It kind of works. And I'm gonna drill to the red tape. Okay. Now I'll take this drill out, and I'll use this one here. It's a 2.5 millimeter, and this one here will be through. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna just check the pin to see if it goes in. Oh yes, it goes in, but no play. I'm gonna take this out, and then I'm gonna thread the very last bottom here for the pin to be bolted on. I'm gonna just put a little mark here, because I want to make sure that when I put this together, it will go on the same location that I drilled this. Okay, and looks like I did it. Pretty good. Good. So now I'm gonna take this out, the shaft. and the spool. Okay, I have to clean up this hole a little bit more to take this burr. Okay, I got the top. It's a 3mm top, and I'm gonna just about ready to start tapping this, but first I'm gonna have to clean up this burr. I had to sharpen the X-Acto knife because it was really dull. I tried before and it just wouldn't cut. I'm gonna break this edge here a little bit. Just making a little chamfer. And on this side here, it's pretty good. I'm not gonna touch it. Okay. Okay, so this should do it. Won't need to be too deep. Maybe a little bit more. Okay. Just clean up a little bit inside here to remove any burrs from the top. And now, let's see, I'm gonna try this one. I'm gonna take the O-rings out because it will be easier to fit everything together. I want to clean up all the burrs from inside the hole so I won't cut the O-rings when I put this together. So I line up everything and now I'm gonna push the pin in. Oh yes, very happy with it. Very good. Just put the handle. Oh yeah, that's the idea, turning the handle and the spool at the same time. For those of you that have been following this project from the beginning, they know that this has been on the making for a long time, but I finally managed to finish all of the pieces, and this is the moment that we all have been waiting for. As you can see, I got all of the pieces here on my bench ready to start assembling it. And just as a curiosity, I counted how many pieces, and including the O-rings and the screws, it takes 49 pieces to make a reel like this one here. And hopefully it won't be just a beautiful reel, but also a very functional stainless steel spear gun reel. And the first components that I'm going to start putting together will be these bushings here, and they will go on the side of the frame, one on each side. Okay, and now to start assembling our reel here, and to save a little bit of time off camera, I already mounted these 5mm pins, which they are exactly the same as this one here. And like I said before, the first components to be put together will be these bushings, and they will go on the inside of the frame. So one here, and this one on this side. And now, the next one will be this spool, like this, and this 5mm pin over here. Okay, and next will be these thin plastic washers. But before I carry on with this, I want to show you something about these spools. For those of you that are following this project from the beginning, they know that I made this spool using 3 different pieces that I press fit together to make the spool. Unfortunately, my idea didn't quite work as good as I expected, and as you've seen, it was very easy to just pop these out. So now I decided to try to glue these together, but the problem is I couldn't find any glue that would chemically bond these kind of materials together. So what I decided to use is 2-part epoxy, like this kind, and to try to help the glue stick a little bit more to these spaces, I'm gonna rough the surfaces like I already did on this one here with the X-Acto knife, and this way hopefully the glue will have a rougher surface to stick to it. So I'm just making a little dimples, create like little cavities so the glue can stick a little bit better. And I'm gonna do that on all the pieces, including this outside wall and also on the inside. And I'll do the same on the inside diameter from the disc. Okay, so I'm gonna do this on all of the pieces and then I'll show you how I'm gonna glue these. Off camera I already glued this side here because it's a lot easier to glue one side at a time versus try to glue everything at the same time. So now I am gonna just put a little bit of glue on both pieces and then press these together and let the glue sit for a bit and then carry on with the rest of the work. So I'll do the same on this side here. Okay, I have to line up these shapes so they're both on the same direction, like this. Okay. And now I press these in using the same spacers that I used originally when I made this for the first time. And as you can probably see, the glue will squeeze out quite a bit. So now with a rag, I'm gonna clean the excess. Okay, so I'm gonna put this back and clamp this a little bit more so the glue has enough time to set. And now I can start putting the spacers, line up everything so everything will fit in, and this thin spacer on this side here. Okay, and next will be the shaft, but before I put the shaft inside the spool, I'm gonna have to put the O-rings and also these thin spacers. And now I'll put a spacer and then a smaller ring. And now will be two spacers without the O-ring in between. And on these grooves, I'll use these smaller O-rings. Okay, very good. Now I'm gonna put a little bit of silicone base grease on all of the O-rings. And now I'm gonna fit the spool or the shaft inside the spool. Now I have to line up the shaft into this square on the bushing. Okay. So the next thing to do will be to put the springs and the small pins on this knob, but I didn't show you how I made those thin plastic washers, so now there's a chance for you to see it. To make these plastic washers, I cut off a piece of this clear material from packaging similar to this one here. And now the first thing I have to do is to make this center hole. And luckily I found this piece of pipe which is the right diameter, is 10 millimeters. And I hope you can see it on the camera. I put this radius on it, and this way we'll punch through the material a little bit easier. So I put it here over a piece of wood, and I'm gonna hit it with the hammer. Like that. So now that I got the center hole done, with this compass, I'm going to mark the outside diameter. Okay. Now with scissors, I'm going to cut it all the way around. Okay, and here it is. Okay, and like you've seen, that wasn't too difficult to do. And now we carry on with this assembly. So we're gonna start putting the springs first, one on each small hole. And now the pins. And this tension knob will be threaded on this shaft. Okay, very good. Now on this side here, there will go this piece here, and on these grooves, I'm gonna put these O-rings. And all of these O-rings is to prevent water from getting trapped inside the spool. Even though that everything is made from stainless steel, I think that over time, that water that may be trapped inside will cause some oxidation on the shaft. So I'm going to put a little bit of silicone grease on these O-rings. And now I'll fit this piece on this side, like that. So it's coming along, and the next step will be to mount the handle. So I'll start by putting together this shoulder bolt. I changed a little bit the design here, and I added this 2mm pin, and I put this hole here. And also I want to show you how I made that. I'm gonna drill a 2mm hole on the handle so I can put a pin like this one here, and the pin and this screw will take the torque from the handle, and this way will prevent this plastic piece from getting damaged when turning the handle. Now to drill this, first I'll use this center drill to mark the location of the hole. Then I'll use this 2mm drill to drill onto the stainless steel handle, and this 1.9mm to drill onto the plastic, because I want this pin to be press fit so it won't come out. So I'll use the 2mm now. Now this one here, I don't want it to drill through, so I'm gonna move here on the side and set the machine so it won't go any deeper and stay a little bit above the bottom of the plastic piece. Okay. I'm gonna put a small chamfer here and remove a little burr from the drill. And now I'm gonna press fit this small pin. And now I'll use the drill press to push the pin in. Okay, so let's try this. Oh yes, yes. Sitting a little bit below, which is good. And now on top of this, I'm gonna put this piece here, which I call the helmet of the handle. So we'll go like this. A small washer and this screw. Okay, very good. And now I'm gonna line up this 3mm hole with this piece that is inside of the spool, so I can put this pin. Put the pin in and just try to find the location for it. Okay. With this small screwdriver, I thread this in. Okay, almost done. The only thing that I didn't show you how I made it, it was this 3mm pin. So now it's the time for you to see it. And now that you've seen how I made the 3mm pins, I'm gonna adjust the tension knob. And to do that, I'm gonna turn this knob all the way down until I feel that it's difficult to turn the handle. So just a little bit more. Okay, so it's basically locked. Now turning the knob counterclockwise about a full turn. I'm gonna put this plastic washer and the 6mm nut. Okay, very good. So now by turning this knob, it's possible to control the drag or the tension on the spool. The more it turns clockwise, the more difficult it will be to turn. And here it is, there's no more components to be put together. The reels are pretty much finished. I just want to show you something here. You see on this one here, I put the handle on the left side, but it's also possible to have the handle on the right side. And this way, there's an option. Some people would prefer one way or the other. Now to finish the reels, there's just a small detail. It's more a cosmetic detail. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but I have my initials here, H and R, and I'm gonna paint the H green and the R red. So I'm gonna set up my bench here and do that next. I'm gonna use nail polish to paint the initials, and I got the green and the red. I borrowed these from my wife's nail polish collection, so in a way that's her contribution to this project also. And now I just put a little bit of nail polish on this piece of plastic, and with this thin wire, it's actually the same wire that I used to make the small springs for the tension knob. I dip the wire into the nail polish, and now carefully I'm gonna fill up the letters, try to paint inside the lines, and after this is dry, I'm gonna put one more coat to make it a little bit thicker. So the red is done. I'm gonna clean the little thin wire, and now I switch to the green. So for now, I'm gonna leave it like this until it dries a little bit. I end up putting 2 coats of nail polish on all of the letters, and I just hope that you see it the way I see it here. The colors are very solid and vivid, and like I said many times before, I'm very, very pleased how everything turned out with this project. And now I'm looking at this and actually thinking about all of the steps they took to get to this point. And especially nowadays that we're so used to just go to the store and grab something from a shelf, pay, take it home, use it. We almost never think about it, how it was made. And now that the reels are finished, I think I have to start thinking about working on those spear guns, because it's been a long time since I did any work on that. One of the reasons that I decided to make the reels before I finished the work on the spear guns was because of the location of this piece. But now that I have the reel, I know that I can move this piece closer to it, and that will not interfere with the loading of the gun or the functionality of the reel. And also by moving this piece closer or farther down will allow to stretch the rubber bands a little bit more, and that will increase the power of the spear gun. But that work will have to be done on the next video. I hope you liked this one here, and if you did, don't forget to give a big thumbs up, and also don't forget to write a comment. And especially nowadays that so many people are watching my videos and following the project along, it's important for me to know your opinion. And if you're new here, I invite you to visit my channel, and if you like what you see in there, subscribe to it, and this way Google will send you a message notifying you when I posted a new video. So for now, I gotta say, thanks for watching my videos, and I'll see you next time on Master My Videos for You. Bye bye!